Hello everyone, welcome along to the Redmen Originals podcast. I'm Paul Machin, Chris Pajak is alongside me, and Chloe Bloxham, and Steve Hort as well, subbing in for Dan Club. What's he doing?
Where? Actual proper work.
So,
All right then.
Someone's got to do it.
We'll accept.
I mean, what he was doing looked very similar to what he does 5 minutes before the podcast. He was sat at his desk, which is normally where he is before we start the podcast normally. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much everyone for joining us for this one. It is our unfortunate duty to tell you that Liverpool lost yet another game of football.
Oh, I thought you were just going to finish it by saying our rubbish, and then that would have been great.
Yeah, we need to get to 8 minutes for the advertising.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we're going to draw that out a little bit longer. Yeah, anyway, 10 defeats in the Premier League this season. We will, though, look back on Galatasaray. We will, and then, of course, unfortunately, chronologically, have to get to the Brighton defeat at the weekend. And then in the second part, we're going to look a little bit at the international break, what's looming, and some of the big news stories around Liverpool as well. So stay tuned for all that. Before we delve into it, two things. Firstly, I want to tell you, if you haven't already, download the Redmen Plus app because it's sensational. It is much better than the subject matter at the moment. I'll tell you that for nothing. And we are partnered this week by Beer 52. So here's some words from Steve Hall on that.
Hey guys, would you like some free beer? Of course you would. And as we're now in the business end of the season, our good friends at Beer 52 are giving you an exclusive offer to get 10 limited beers from Flanders for free. Simply go to www.beer52.com/Redmen. Just cover the postage to get your beers now. Your free case will include this very special beer from Leroy Brewery. It's a classic Abbey-style triple with smooth and rounded profile. At 8%, it packs an absolute punch, but the high ABV is well integrated with a dry and balanced finish. Trust me. Delicious. Don't forget, if you don't like any dark beers, you can simply choose the light case. And the good news is, whichever case you order, you'll get a couple of tasty snacks included too. You can learn all about the fantastic breweries featured in the case with the award-winning Ferment magazine too. So you're not just drinking it, you're learning all about it as well. And even after all that, if you're still unsatisfied for some reason, you can simply pause or cancel at any time. So head to www.beer52.com/Redmen to claim your free case of 10 awesome beers now. That's www.beer52.com/Redmen.
Okay. Sam, hello everyone. Welcome back. Get involved with the Beer 52 details in the comments section. Right, cool. Well done, Steve. Thank you.
I wore the same t-shirt, which is...
No, if anyone wondering, it's not like Steve's just scrandled 10 beers prior to starting the show, or maybe he has. We'll see how this one goes.
Liverpool might wanted me to be a bit more joyous. I've come
to the conclusion that I'm going to have to start drinking again to get through the rest of the season. I think that's roughly where I'm at.
I've gone the other way. I've tried to go uber focused on not like running and stuff, so that I don't have to think about Liverpool. Yeah. But both are equally acceptable.
You've been running?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh,
Thanks for not noticing. It's fine.
When did you last go for a run, Steve?
No, we didn't know you. We didn't know you've been running
well
because everyone who goes running endlessly tells you that they go running. So.
Soz.
Or they just look like Aaron and you can tell Aaron's a runner.
Yeah. Fair play. Right, cool. Yes, Treasury, mate, we need to crack on with Liverpool. But we will just dial it back a little bit in a sec. Chris, what a very Liverpool 2025-2026 that week that was.
Yeah, we had a really nice midweek game where you put probably the best performance of the season in the Champions League. You beat Galatasaray, and then you're thinking, go on Liverpool, make that the bare minimum between now and the end of the season. Until about probably 10 minutes into the game when you realise that that's not going to happen against Brighton, unfortunately. So yes, it was a very Liverpool 25-26 week, and I look forward don't look forward to the rest of those weeks being exactly the same.
I've never been quite as grateful for an international break as I am for this one, Chloe. Although, as ever, it's always better, if you leave on a win, so you're not feeling quite as down in the dumps for 2 weeks. But it is the nature of where Liverpool are at. They've got performances like that in them, but they just don't have performances like that in them twice a week. And that's so frustrating because, and I've said it's kind of my biggest problem with it all, is that if they were just garbage every week, you can kind of, you either make your peace with it or you get on the barricades. But when they do things like Galatasaray, it just leaves you really annoyed because you know that something like that is capable with the players and the manager, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's madness. I mean, this season has been me just looking for international breaks and then being dead sad that it was like 4 months till the next one, but it's finally here. But yeah, aside from that, it's just, and not just am I fuming about Brighton, I'm still going back to Spurs. Like, this is what they've done to me. At least if you would have beat Spurs, I could have gone, oh, funny Spurs, aren't they? Oh, relegation battle them. But I can't, because we're the ones who've put them a point above the relegation zone because they've took a point off us. And I've been asked about Liverpool this season quite a lot, and everyone, the common theme that someone said to me is, can you use that performance as like, you know, something to build on and a bit of momentum?
No.
And every time I've said, no. Just watch. And it was never more obvious with the 12:30 kickoff at the Amex. I've seen Liverpool win once there. I've been loads. I've seen us win once. It was the most obvious thing happening. And from about 10 minutes in, Liverpool were completely and utterly non-existent.
Yeah, completely. There's something about James Milner.
Legging us out.
James Milner, there are a number of really big and obvious things that this Liverpool side/squad is missing, but James Milner embodies one of them, and it is that like David and Goliath type sort of quality, you know. And I know that Liverpool can't really go to Brighton and necessarily be David versus Goliath as such, but what it is, it's someone who goes, okay, here's your big reputations, and here's your big money, and here's your big wages, and here's like, you know, show us all your cups and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to absolutely body you and see if you've got it to carry on. And I said during the watch along, I should have been absolutely raging with Milner because ultimately, in giving a dead leg to Ekitike, he takes the last lad who's likely to score a goal for us in the squad off the pitch. But it's Milner. And it just made me feel nostalgic for us having players who were like that in the team.
I was more annoyed that no one got him back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly.
That's the point. Yeah, we don't have those players.
So he does Soberslay, and then he does Ekitike. He does what I think it might have been Granbeck. He gets every one of them, and he's not fouling them. He's going in tough, and he's saying like, you know, laying down that marker. We loved it when, you know, he did as a Neymar famously in that game, doesn't he? And
he wins the ball in that one at least.
There's something about it. And yeah, Liverpool, and that's the problem with, you go back to like Liverpool's soft. And Liverpool were soft in that game, but Liverpool have been soft all season. They're too easy to beat, they're too easy to play against. And, you know, you mentioned the Galatasaray game. It might be an indictment on our bad day, a little bit as well. But that you mentioned like that they can do that and then do this Brighton thing. It's been way more the Brighton thing than that Galatasaray game. Liverpool haven't done that type of performance for a long time.
Yeah, it stood out.
Madrid.
That stood out because it was a 90-minute performance.
It stood out because it was so rare that he played quite well against Galatasaray. And listen, that might have cost us at the weekend. You know, maybe in hindsight, he could have took the foot off the gas potentially a little bit earlier or made the subs earlier. You'll never know, I suppose. And obviously, that they wanted to make sure they were 100% through because they haven't exactly been holding on to leads. But at the weekend, it was just the most inevitable loss. I predicted a draw, but I think I was being more hopeful than optimistic. There was just no way we was ever going to win that game. And that's an indictment. You know, as much as Chloe said, like, you know, our record down at Brighton isn't great. And there's been times when we've been played off the park there. Again, I'll go back to the 3-0. There's been a few times where they just battered us. That was never a contest really at the weekend. It was, we scored a goal off a mistake. We got outrun, outfought, outworked. The manager of both teams, you know, their manager game plan was fantastic. Ours was rubbish. I still don't know what we're trying to do. It's just that was the indictment of the season. Galatasaray was the rare blip. The weekend is what the season's been. Unfortunately, you know, I saw the title. You put in the title, didn't you? Back on track, or you know, a lost score. We're more the second. I think at the minute in time, mate, or falling apart. It feels like it's already fell apart to me. It just feels like now we're just trying to stay at the end of the season, unfortunately, and. We're hoping for miracles, aren't we? We're hoping for a 2005 Champions League miracle where every single party body thinks PSG are going to whoop us. And then you're hoping for a miracle at Manchester City in the FA Cup. But if you're being realistic, you're at this moment in time, that would be unrealistic to suggest. So that's my big disappointment of it. It was just really soft and it was really predictable. And it's quite disappointing and quite sad in that you should never go to Brighton away and think, oh, we're going to get beat here. And I don't know if did anyone disagree going into the game thinking we're going to win this game, because I didn't have much of a semblance of it.
And I think when you look at what Milner did, you know, he puts a couple of reducers in early doors, doesn't he? He obviously causes the injury for Ekitike, as mentioned. But in terms of the whole performance from their midfield, they've got a 40-year-old playing. Pascal Gross is 34, Hinchelwood's 20. Like that is uber experience. But they ran the legs off us as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The three of them in the middle of the park, and we didn't get anywhere near them.
Why do you think we didn't get anywhere near them?
Because we're crap. We're absolutely crap.
But like beyond an ethereal judgment on it, why?
Well, look, I don't know exactly. Obviously we're only guessing in these types of things, but for me, you know, we don't try and press high. We don't try and win the ball back. They were doing things where they were moving and shifting players around to play out from the back, which they've always done, even going back to the Zerbi being in charge of them. And you know, I think their movement off the ball was much better than ours. I think that's highlighted particularly well during the second goal, because I think it's Curtis Jones is on at that point, and he doesn't track anybody into the box, and they end up with 4-on-4 in the penalty area against us and stuff. And you're thinking to yourself, in fact, it's the first goal. Sorry, from the no, it's the second goal. Yeah, because Curtis is on, isn't he? And he
Curtis is on for both.
Is he? Okay. Okay. Must be the first goal then, because he's running back. I think the throw in, blah blah blah. There's loads of mistakes. Frimpong goes towards the fella who's throwing the ball for no reason, which gives an easy throw in to them. But when the ball's drifted over, there's no danger sense from Curtis Jones. He's just sort of ambling back, and then they end up 4-on-4. Kirkus has got like 3 around him. Doesn't win it, and then, you know, Konate makes a bit of an error as well, doesn't he? Welbeck a little bit on the shoulder and stuff. But it's that we just don't seem to have any idea what's going on around us in the centre of the park. We're just letting players run off us time and time again, and that's one instance of it. And I think I saw that all game long. I think
the manager got his team wrong, and the first sub was worse. And that's what. Brighton, and I understand, and I wrote this on Twitter, and maybe I got the wrong end. Maybe I didn't clarify what I meant properly. Brighton had.
What did you say on Twitter?
We looked. They had the advantage in terms of rest anyway. In terms, you know, and it isn't an excuse. It's just a fact. They played Saturday, and then we played Sunday, Wednesday. So they were always going to be fitter and stronger and more, you know, just fresher. That's just normal. Now big teams cope, and I understand that. But what I'm saying is, usually big teams cope by changing things up. You know, and I understand, by the way, it's not like we're not playing against the Brighton of old, perhaps, you know, with Caicedo and McAllister, who were younger and got legs, but in Gross, Milner, Hinchelwood, there's more. They were fresher for a start, and we picked the exact same midfield. I think that's a mistake. And, you know, Jones should have been in from the start in midfield for me, and probably ahead of McAllister. But then when you lose Ekitike, and now it's Curtis, you've got no goals. So how are we scoring a goal here? We've got no chance of scoring a goal. I said for us to win that game, it was going to have to be you go in front and then you try and defend for your lives and hope that you can do that. Liverpool haven't shown a massive ability to do that at times and hold on to a lead, but that was the only way we're going to get it. We looked tired, we looked unfit, and I think that's a problem. And then we made ourselves worse. We took our only goal threat off, and I understand he gets a whack, you've got to take him off, but you do have goals on your bench. Rio would have been a better sub. Chiesa, I don't know how fit he is. He's been withdrew from Italy today, so maybe not him. But all of a sudden now we've got a team where...
So did we have goals or didn't we have goals on the bench?
I think Rio is the most likely. He's more likely to score a goal than Curtis Jones or putting Verts up front for me.
One thing I will say though is I don't think the manager had loads of options personally.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the way that it is, obviously we lose Alisson pre-match. Mo Salah goes off injured against Galatasaray, and then you lose Ekitike in the first few minutes, and there's sort of 3 enforced changes to what would probably be your starting 11 anyway. So he is hamstrung, but the changes that he makes, I think maybe something different could have been done.
Can we speak about the fact that we've been outrun in 27 of the 31 games this
It's
season?
a mad stat, though,
It's a bullshit
stat,
that. Because I think what's the one doing the rounds of the season we won the league under Klopp, we were outrun in 26 of 38 or whatever.
I get that you're on the ball loads, but in games like this, it shows because...
Definitely.
Like, look, I get it, you want to be on the ball more, which means they've got to track you down, which obviously means they run more. Get that. But in games, in which Liverpool just don't look like they're arsed. Like, that stat actually comes to light. That was a game where Liverpool should have outrun Brighton, because it wasn't this, Slot went into it going, teams, they play differently against us, which means we can't play our football. Brighton didn't do that. Brighton came to play, and Brighton turned around and went, we'll just match us. We'll go 2 for 2 for you. We're better than you. And in that game, what you need at the bare minimum is hard work, putting in the yard, because it's not going to be easy, because they will run around you. Well, and for me, I just think, yeah, I get it's not the biggest stat going, but in games like that, it shows you where Liverpool are up to, because we got legged, and that's a game where both teams are trying to win the game of football.
Well, listen, for what it's worth, I like this. I agree on that, by the way, and I think this is where that is a worthwhile consideration, because it's. I obviously Slot answered it in the press conference of the day and said basically what you've kind of said is that it's hard to outrun teams when you've got the ball. Fine, but it still doesn't detract from the fact that Liverpool don't have the ability to run hard in the latter stages of football matches. So cumulatively across the season, there's probably tons that we've lost in that regard, simply because we don't have the legs to do it. But this goes back to the sort of what Steve was saying of like, how do you cut your cloth? Because either way you're cutting it, it's too short to cover 90 minutes of football at the moment. And I'm not against the idea of going, that was really good in the week. Go on, lads. Let's use that optimism and see if you can go again as much as possible. And then that's when you come into your point of injuries actually do hamper that a little bit. But we've had this for the last couple of months in particular. It's been noticeable of, if you can only do 45 minutes, which 45 minutes are you going to try and win the game of footy in? And that was probably a game where we'd have been better having a little bit more to come into the game later on. If you're not going to rotate loads, then be a bit more choice with the selections you've got, because we were doing it at the weekend. What are you bringing into the game? Robertson, fine. Curtis Jones, fine. Rio and Gamoa, obviously a massive talent, but if we're talking about reliability, there isn't proven goals in him, is there? And as you say, Chiesa, could you have kept Ekitike on the bench just to give you a little bit of juice later on? I don't know, but it feels like we make that mistake every other week.
I think the problem's deeper than that, because I think the problem's the fitness of the players.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and that's down to the manager and the coaching staff, because it's been this all season long. Like, yes, I can sit here and say he was a bit hamstrung by the injuries and stuff. Of course he was. But I think there's a reason that we're talking about Liverpool playing for 75 minutes in games. That's friggin' stupid. At this point of the season, they should be primed to be able to play 90-minute games.
Yeah, it's just so passive, and that's the problem. Is that I thought obviously when we win the title, rather, the year before we've been legged everywhere. It was a bit. I think a lot of people have gone, Jürgen maybe needs to tone this down a little bit, and I think Slot did definitely tone it down a little bit. And I think that benefited us. We weren't getting legged everywhere, but we were still up for the fight. And it feels like now it's gone too far the other way. Almost like the perfect balance for that season was somewhere in the middle of the two. And now we don't run, but we don't keep the ball, but we're not hard to... We don't sit back and defend, but we don't go all out to attack. It's just like, it's kind of nothing. It's just like the game of football is just happening in front of us. And I can't sit here now and tell you what the plan was to win that game at the weekend. I said to him against Spurs second half, and I said the same there the other day. I've got no idea what are we trying to do. We're not trying to keep the ball, are we?
The game, it was almost carbon copy Galatasaray away. It was Liverpool looking quite bright and buzzing around them and causing their defence issues in the opening stage of the game, and then we do something daft, a mental moment of mental fragility, 2 headers inside the box from across into the box. By the way, exactly the same goal again, and we're actually then not that bad for the 15 minutes that follows it. We're actually quite good, but we can't score. but we can't. And obviously, we do score. But once that's in, it feels like that's it. Brighton then just were more physically dominant, more tactically dominant, and Liverpool didn't have the ability within them to turn the game back. It was just fucking Galatasaray, except with a bit more goal threat.
And I think also, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm just fed up with it. Like, we're just trying the same thing. It doesn't work. What are we doing? Like, we know this doesn't work. Liverpool away from home playing in this manner doesn't work. You either have to make yourself really tough to beat and become what Solskjaer made Man United in big games, for example, and you just defend and you look to counter-attack, or you look to dominate the ball and run and score goals. We are very much caught everywhere. So Chris mentioned before, well, we're crap. There's too many gaps over the pitch because we don't know what I just don't think we know what we are, and that we've got no identity, we've got nothing. There's no like hang your hat on what your style is. Arsenal, right, top of the league. I don't like it particularly, and sometimes it can get found out. But they know what they are. City know what they are. United at this moment in time under Carrick, they're not perfect, but they know what they are. Everton know what they are. They've got an identity, and we played with Brentford the same. We've got no identity. Yeah. We are just a gang of footballers who you're hoping their talent is enough to win you the game, and that's a massive indictment on Arne Slot. It really is.
Well, yeah, that plus actually probably again the makeup of the squad. But I agree with that. Liverpool play like a team who think they're still brilliant and think that they're good players are going to win the football match, and haven't noticed that they're not on the pitch. There's no the people who, because this is the thing, the Arne Slot's style as it is if you take your chances and you score when you're on top, then it's not an issue. But Liverpool don't score when they're on top anywhere near enough. And all the games we've won in recent weeks where you've gone, and felt this massive sigh of relief of watching us play, are Liverpool getting in front of goal and sticking the ball in the back of the net. And when they don't, every problem that the squad has, the team has, and the tactics and all that kind of stuff get completely undone over and over again. And they don't then have the ability to turn it back around again for insert X number of reasons. The fitness thing, a lack of fight in the title, or aggression in the type of player that we own, etc., etc.
And that's borne out if you look at the away league table. We've lost more games away from home than we've won in the Premier League. We've lost 7 away from home. I think it was 3 last season. I think it was 3 the season before. And that's because we're just not up for the fight. You've got to go there and you've got to dampen the atmosphere a little bit and work your way into the game and earn that right to play your football. We're not able to do that. All we want to do is play against a fairly nice team who'll leave big, would actually love to play against us. Yeah. That's what we'd like. We'd like to play against a team that's nice and leave big gaps all over the pitch on a fucking sunny day with no wind. That's what Liverpool are in 25-26, and you don't get it.
I disagree with the away thing. I think we do that, and that's the wrong thing for us to do. I think we constantly go to away grounds trying to get on the ball and bore everyone and silence the crowds, and it doesn't fucking work. We constantly, because it's an away crowd. All it takes is one slip and they fucking get up and fucking get my foot. I think the overall approach to the away game is wrong. I think you've got to go in there and be more. You've got to be excited
by scoring goals.
Yeah, exactly. We've got to go and get in people's faces, and upset them, go into their ground and behave like we're supposed to be there, as opposed to, I think, this respectful tone of let's come in and work our way into the game and earn the right and silence the crowd and all that kind of stuff. As you say, is right.
Also, mate, I get some of the...
Which, by the way, I think we tried to do in that Brighton game. I do think we actually tried. That was the game plan.
Was to go. I think first half...
Well, for the first... You can see that Liverpool are trying.
Milner came off within 4 minutes, 9 minutes in.
I kind of thought first half Liverpool okay. Yeah. Okay, but for an away performance that you can go and build on, the second half you didn't. But this thing of we want teams to play a certain way against us. Well, Chelsea didn't sit back behind the ball and they beat us, and Bournemouth didn't sit back behind the ball and they beat us, and Fulham didn't sit back behind the ball and they beat us.
And play against any type of team.
That's my point. If it was just the low block thing and that maybe is more of a case at Anfield, you can accept it. But away from home, that has not been the case. Teams have just beat us. So I'm just not having that. I'm just not. No. And we are just...
And how many of them fall into that additional trap, going back to the fitness thing of late winners as well?
It's a mess. The whole thing's a mess. If you dropped an Easter egg and it cracked everywhere, and that would be Liverpool at this moment in time.
Topical.
Yeah, because Chloe's got one. There's no, and the worry is, I don't know.
You have to just check if you look to make sure Easter egg was okay.
See if it's not melted.
It's definitely fine.
I just don't know. I'll be honest. It's really, really hard to come up with ideas how this gets fixed. Now, it feels like a summer job, and it feels like you might need to change some of the players. You probably have to change the manager. It's just it's just so much up in the air. And I hope now they've got 2 weeks off and someone comes up with this magic game plan that all of a sudden we come back and beat City and beat PSG. But then I'm not exactly holding my breath. I think, the weekend second half performance at Brighton looks to me like a team that are out of ideas, out of fight. And I hate saying it, look at the manager doesn't always do either. It was on a stick. I was sitting there with my family watching it, and you guys know you were near, Chloe at home, and it was just how are we this? How is this the champions of England?
Yeah.
How has it become this mess of a team in 12 months? And it's really, it's just sad and shit.
As you say, it's a fundamental problem with the overall, with it all. And again, that can stem back to pre-season. Absolutely, it's worth us always mentioning that, and the disruptions and all that kind of stuff that doesn't give Liverpool a platform to move forward. But you know, it's because my biggest bugbear with it is that there's no goals in this team. There's just not. Yeah. There's not enough goals. In fact, there's not loads of goals across the Premier League in a weird way. And you know, if you want to finish in the top 4, you've got to have a 20-goal a season player. Be a striker, whatever, winger, whatever. You've got to have that, and we don't have that. And actually, the best Liverpool teams in recent years, the ones that have not just gotten into top 4, but actually been competitive for the league, have had 2 and sometimes 3 20-goal a season players within there, and which seems like. I mean, we sort of own them theoretically, but they're not that. I mean, Salah's not even there, but I think he's got 5 Premier League goals this season. Fucking like, it's nothing. It's not nowhere near good enough. I think Ekatike's got 11, which is absolutely fine for maybe 3rd highest goal scorer. I think they're the kind of numbers he's getting to, and then obviously Alex Isak has played half a season and. I think he's played a cumulative total of like 5 or 6 games of football for us since.
Danny Welbeck's got more goals than any Liverpool player.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is right. And then within that though, if you've not got the goals, what we don't have is a resilient style of play that allows you to just keep yourself in a game of football. And that is to say, when it all goes wrong, I don't see that. Like, you don't look around the pitch and have a bunch of lads going, right, come on, we'll get through this. And you know, this is where, I mean, like, Arsenal don't have goals, but Arsenal have got tons of players, so they can rotate at will and not really see a massive drop off. They've obviously got the brilliance of the set pieces, and they don't concede. So actually, they're able to get by in this division that way. But if you can't have goals, then you need something else. And at this stage of the season, they're looking around. The tanks look empty across the park, and I don't think any of us would be prepared to see Liverpool change to a style of play that was park the bus and stop conceding and all that kind of stuff.
But what I'm watching now is boring as hell anyway. So what do you know what I mean? Like, what I'm watching now is at a level of boring that people literally go, actually, instead of watching this game, I think I'll just go out. Like, there is nothing that grips you with the way we play. So, like, I don't care what we do, to be honest, because ultimately, if this is the style of football that we're going to play under Slot for the next several years, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to be a part of that. It's nothing. It literally is so passive.
Were you thrilled against Galatasaray? For the sake of argument? In
a sense of everything has to go the correct way, yeah, sure. But everything fell in Liverpool's favour. Osimhen went off half time. It's maybe a different game if he stays on, I've got no idea. But he goes off injured. I know that much. They have another injury. Liverpool on their day can play quite well, but they need everything to go there to be perfect for that to happen. And that is the problem, is that you can't. There is
nothing. They don't bend games to their will enough, do they?
They don't grab the game by the scruff of the neck and go, we're going to play our way and yous are going to have to sit here and watch it because we're just that good. There is none of that. Liverpool, I can count on my hand the amount of games across 90 minutes where I've gone, yeah, bit of me that. And it's Galatasaray, it was Madrid, and maybe Arsenal at home. But then again, what did Arsenal do in that game of football to try and fight against us in any way? And it was an unbelievable set piece. So for me, like, we can talk about changing the system or the style or whatever, but like, what we do now just isn't good enough. And there is nothing, like you said, there's nothing to hang your hat on. The only thing I can hang my hat on is when Rio's on the pitch, I go, oh, well, he'll actually take people on. He'll try and do something. You've got no pace. You've got no one who can win a one-on-one duel. You've got no one who's going to dribble past anyone because Mo Salah's not that anymore. It is literally Rio. And the thing that annoys me is that you're asking this 17-year-old lad to go and do it for you in the closing stages. But, like, in that game when Ekatike comes off, that's when you should use him then. Because that is the only way that you're going to go and win that game is if you've got Rio and Gamoa on. That is the only way.
That's also part of the problem, isn't it? We changed formation this week and it doesn't have wingers in it. So the one bright spot of the last month has been Rio and Gamoa, and we've changed to a formation that doesn't suit how he plays. So yeah, what are you going to do? And it's, again, Galatasaray comes on and just kind of floats along the front line. It doesn't really matter by that stage. And, again, hindsight, I think you're probably right, because we lost presence in the attack, and we had no pace whatsoever. And again, we did it during the watch-along, Chris, but we have one counter-attacking moment in that second half where Vert breaks away. He gets midway inside their half. There's 3 Brighton players between him and goal, and it takes him 5 or 6 seconds, and then Gakpo gets there, and he's left trying to play an impossible pass through those 3 players to try and get Gakpo into some meaningful situation, because again, we've got no pace, and and again, not enough bodies and not enough natural goal threat at the end.
Also, I don't know whether anybody saw, but in the second half, Rio comes on, obviously, and starts playing on the left-hand side. And all of a sudden, for some baffling-ass reason, Slot puts him out on the right. And for about 10 minutes, we are completely non-existent. Like, at least with Rio on that outball, he was beating a man. And then all of a sudden, he swapped sides. And I just had no idea what we were trying to do. And that's the lad who's your only outball, your only hope. And he's doing quite well on that left-hand side, believe it or not. And you move him to the right for no reason. Move everybody else to the right. Don't move him. And then he switched it back. And Rio again started beating people, was winning fouls, was winning yellow cards. But for 10 minutes of that game, for some reason, when it was working, we just decided, actually, we're going to swap him to the right to improve somebody else. But the problem is the only one who's good enough right now in an attacking sense when they come on the pitch is Rio in that situation.
We've had that all along, haven't we? You think, was it 3 right backs again we played at the weekend?
Yeah. Oh, maybe we had more fucking more centre midfielders on the pitch at the end. We end the game with 2 midfielders at the back, 3 in midfield, 1 kind of playing half up front. It's a shambles, mate. It really is. And I think the last 2 Premier League games, Chris, have been the biggest indictment on Slot. I think he's been really poor. Like, really, really poor. The setup, the selections, the substitutions, the lack of impact from the bench. And I understand there are limited options. He'd love to look around at his bench and go, well, Ekitike's up front, I can bring Isak on. Or, for example, I want to do something at full back, so Connor come off and Frimpong go. I understand there are some limited options, but it's not limited as in, like, you got like 10 injuries. It was like 3. Maybe at the weekend there was a little bit more, obviously, because we've since lost Mo Salah. But I just don't think he knows what he's doing. I don't think he knows.
I just can't work out what he's trying.
That's my point.
That's the thing.
I don't think he knows.
We're 7 months into a season. Mm-hmm. We're still changing formations. Yeah. We're still like, for my eye, looking at Slot at Liverpool and looking beforehand, Slot needs wingers. We've now gone to a wingless formation, which is mad. We don't know how to build up. We're terrible defensively. The confidence is completely and utterly shot. Like, what are we building towards this season? Not next. Yeah. This season. How are we going to win games this season? Because it just looks like we're trying something new every week and we're hoping the shit sticks to the wall at some point. And that doesn't come across like someone who's particularly competent and has a plan. That comes across like someone who's panicked and is just trying to hold on for dear life.
Yeah.
And you said, what are we doing next season? But it's a major impact of next season. If Liverpool, it is essential that Liverpool get top 4. Champions League football. It just is. That's just the way we are run. Whether people like it or not, Liverpool have to get at the bare minimum this season. A trophy for me and Champions League football next season. You can go and win the Champions League by all means, and that'll get you both. But Liverpool aren't good enough to do that. But my point is that we can talk about, people, whether they think we should stick or twist on the manager. Absolutely. But my problem is if you leave it too late and you're getting there, then it's next season that you've also got a big problem, because Europa League football is drab to watch. It's also not a competition that makes you loads of money. It's not a competition that's going to attract the biggest of players.
And also with the Europa League, you need to have a squad that's a big squad, an even bigger squad to play Europa League football. Yeah. And then you have the problem that we had with when Slot comes in, is you have to expand it, and we expanded it with like youth players. Fair enough. Will he do that? Well, there's no necessarily a huge amount of proof that he'll do that, but you end up with a bunch of lads who you're not really sure if they're good enough to play for you or not, because they're good enough to play Europa League, but the standards between top end Premier League and Champions League it's why Bobby Clark and all those lads end up getting sort of quietly not quietly, but get shipped out because we always think, oh, you're Europa League, oh yeah, we'll be well too good for this, but you're the biggest fish in the pond, you're the biggest scalp to be taken for everyone. It's the biggest game loads of these other teams will ever have playing against you, so they treat it like what it is, a huge occasion, and we're rocking up expecting it to happen. And for a Liverpool team, as we've already said there, that feels like it needs everything going in its way to be able to do what it does, you wouldn't bank on this being particularly successful in the Europa League next season.
A lot of people were saying, like, you know, the players have stopped playing for the manager. They don't believe in what they're saying. They don't, and I'm not sure I quite believe that. I see it more as they don't know what they're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
I don't think they're not asked, and I don't think they don't care, because you look at the reactions, and I think they do care. I think they are lost in terms of what they're
hold on that a second, because I thought Szoboszlai's reaction to the Spurs one totally backs up what you're saying there. He was shocked that people thought it was inevitable that we weren't going to win that game. And so, like, there's clearly a mentality within the squad that thinks that whatever path they're on is the right path to be on. That's not fake. That none of them are that, you know, are the actors required to bullshit that one. I just thought that was mad, because you're right. I think all of us are looking at going, we all think every single week now, it's like, well, you're not going to win this. You know we're not going to win. You can see their goal coming, but it's mad that the players don't. And again, there's no down the tools from them, which is really bizarre. They should have done. That Galatasaray game, that should have been the one. Given the mood coming out of Tottenham, they should have absolutely fucking folded in and capitulated in that one. And that's the thing that makes it so difficult for me on that, because the opportunity was there to have done with it all. But the players clearly have got, whether it's professional pride, you know, could just be that. But that's so that is that. And so whether it's just being deluded into it,
to be honest, Paul, I think that's just a natural thing that everyone will just get up for the Champions League, because it is around the 16. You can see your path to a potential big trophy and stuff. So that's natural, I think, for all of them. I do agree though with you both, and they don't look like they've chucked the towel in for the manager. That's absolutely fine. And I'll be honest as well, I don't think you should ever get to a point where you're waiting for the players to give you that lead. If he's not good enough, whether the players believe or not, get rid of.
Yeah, I think if your players go, that's the only thing that should ever trigger a during the season sacking. I think, you know, because otherwise, as long as the players are still working for it, then you can always bundle your way through to the end of the campaign and make a more intelligent decision on it. But yeah, it's just, again, it's fucking.
See, I disagree, because I think the fact that the players don't look like they know what they're fucking doing, like no one's got a clue. And then you see the subs come on, and next minute Rio's on the left, and then Rio's on the right, and next minute Kurtz is at right back. Oh no, Sobo's at right back now. Oh no, Gravenberg's at centre back. Oh no, Gravenberg's in DM. They haven't got a clue what they're meant to be doing, and that is
just
on the boss.
Spinning, wondering what's going on.
That's on the boss. If I came into work today, or you walked in today, and everyone was sat upstairs twiddling the thumbs, and you'd be like, Steve, you'd say to me, what's going on? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. You'd be like, what the fuck? Like, it's your job to manage this team, get them doing what they're fucking meant to be doing. And I think that's my issue with Arne at the moment. I looked the other day, and the 2 goals are soft as shit, and they're not that hard to prevent. But because we've had lads playing in about 7 different roles, yeah, Curtis doesn't track the run, but when's the last time Curtis has played
left wing
to try and get back into? Oh, like, how often's Florian Wirtz been up front? Or why is it's just a big mess, and it comes down to the fact that it's broke. It's completely broken. I completely disagree with your point on you shouldn't do the manager sack, and I'd have sacked them after Bournemouth. I'd continue. I'd do it now. I really would. And I understand, by the way, the PSG game's coming up, and I hope he wins the Champions League, and I hope he wins the FA Cup, and I hope I'm looking like a knobhead. I've got no faith in it, because I think what's going to happen is we're going to come back, we'll get beat by Manchester City, and then we've got to play Fulham, and then we've got to play Everton. Am I confident that Liverpool are going to be fucking Fulham? I should be, but no. And I think
and we're Everton's next home game as well, and they've just had their best atmosphere.
Yeah. I think there's got to be a plan. There needs to be a plan of how we're going to win games, and if it means going back to basics, I know you said before it's boring. We kind of went back to basics around November, December, and while the performances weren't great, the results got better. And for the end of the season, what you said before, Chloe, right? Liverpool need to win. If they have to bore me to death to win, I can half cope.
I'm already bored.
Yeah, I'll half cope with that, because I half cope with it then. It wasn't great, but it was better. Now we're boring, and we're still getting beat. So what are we trying to do?
But also, it's been 4 or 5 months since then, and there's been no improvements.
None.
It's gone worse, mate. We're worse now. I go back to it. We have lost 10 Premier League games this year. We've been beaten in Europe. We got beaten in the League Cup. That Tottenham result is the worst result. They are fucking crap. And that manager hasn't got a clue what he's doing. And he rocked up to Anfield with half a game plan.
With half a squad.
With half a team and got something. Yeah. And again, I'll go back to it. Brighton are good. Brighton are fine. But they're like 12th. They're not like an amazing football team. And we made them look like Barcelona the other day. We couldn't get near them. Like that second half, at no stage were we in that game. Did we have a chance in it? I can't remember anything real of note.
Probably the two best chances probably of the game, but they were so in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, Hindsight has one where he absolutely should score. Then Gravenberch clears one off the line that's immediately followed by Curtis clearing one off the line.
We didn't create a lot.
We created two. No, sorry, our best chances of the game, what I mean is, they were so far in isolation of everything. Everything we did was rubbish.
Explain the chances.
It was Curtis Jones had the shot saved in the bottom corner, and Gakpo had one. And what I mean by that is, we had two half-decent opportunities where we forced saves out of goalkeeper. This is not me defending the performance of the second half. We were fucking dog shit in the second half, but that was it. That was literally the only like blips on the fucking radar, and it was.
Mate, we're just not very good. And you'd either say the players are all shit. Who thinks Liverpool have got any shit players? There might be one or two you think, he's not that.
There's a couple where I think the legs have completely and utterly gone.
There's a couple where they look knackered, but I don't think anything but even like, I know Cody is this new flavour where everyone's battering Cody Gakpo. Cody Gakpo's not shite.
Cody Gakpo's good enough to be in a 16-man Liverpool
he's a decent Premier League player. Yeah. He is good. He's a good footballer. He's not Sadio Mane or Mo Salah or Luis Diaz, but he's good. They're all, but who looks good? Who looks good?
None of them, and that's on the manager. That's on the coach.
Sobbo's looked half decent at times this year. Ekitike's had moments, and for a while, to be fair, I thought Virgil was. That feels like it's. Other than that, mate, no one's playing up to their level. Mm-hmm. No, everyone's worse. I've seen better versions of every single one of these players for Liverpool, except to be fair, the new signings, and you're hard to judge. And I think a couple of them are getting better. KK is clearly getting better, but that's it. Like everyone looks worse. And is that I was putting that down for ages that all the legs have gone. Alisson's legs have gone, Salah's legs have gone, maybe Virgil's legs have gone, McAllister's knackered, they've played too much. But now I'm starting to think it might not be that because they all look shit. and you're not going to sell 23 players.
And the one area of the team that we've got the ability to actually refresh is the centre of the park. And we don't. And we're getting legged in the centre of the park every week.
Exactly.
And you're wondering why. And listen, people have got their things about Curtis Jones and stuff. I think he's a good player. I think he should be getting starts because McAllister looks knackered. Gravenberch hasn't really been at the races recently. Yeah. Szoboszlai's been all over the shop.
Take your fucking McAllister win. He was brilliant against Galatasaray. Fucking bench him. Great. And let him have a bit of rest and then have that conversation. If he can go on, what's his one? Pick his game. Pick McAllister's one game a week that you're going to get the best McAllister out of. Stop thinking that all of a sudden it's going to work for him. It drives me absolutely to despair.
Another thing that is like really, really annoying me is that like Rio should be brought on for the moments like Newcastle away where you go, wow, what a delightful moment for the kid. You know what? He can really relish in that and he can enjoy it. No, we don't call upon Rio in like the early stages of the game when Jones comes off and you go, you know what? We'll back that lad. We bring him on. And he's never on the winning side, for the love of God. No matter how much he tries or he puts into a game of football, he never gets to, go on and enjoy the applause from coming on and showing something. He's always got to come on and he's always got to try and be the person to do everything for Liverpool. And then he comes off and he's got his head down. He's came off the pitch. He's probably been man of the match for Liverpool. But Liverpool, everybody else is just not helped him, and that's not great either. Like I want the young lads to have their opportunity to shine.
Have him on the pitch with fucking Ekitike and Salah for fuck's sake. Yeah,
exactly, and be able to enjoy it, and also in the latter stages, let's bring him off when we're 4-0 up so he can get the applause that he deserves. But Liverpool are never in those positions to do that.
But it goes back to that thing of,
and it's just going to kill the lad.
Again, you're right on the squad rotation. We haven't got the fucking deepest squad by any stretch, but there are players there. You could do yourself a favour. Some of the better performances in recent weeks have come where we have just done 3 or 4 changes for one of the games, and it had, it was Chiesa leading the line and not particularly doing a great job against Brighton, was it, in the cup? But it means that you've someone else, when you then bring the player in off the bench or in the game that follows, you've got a bit more. And go back to it, and fucking the sad and the dear that is this season, and I'm about to fucking talk about Calvin Ramsey again. But, like, we don't rotate the midfield, and then we play half of them at fucking right back.
For half a game.
So everyone's fucked. Everyone's done in. If you haven't got the fitness, then you need to use more players. Like, it's the only way out of that. We can't just expect them all to suddenly become.
It's the law of diminishing returns.
I also think, right, again, I hate comparing to the past, but I'm fucking going to do it. Like, that's the type of game where Jurgen Klopp would have made 6 changes and he'd have stacked his bench. Stoke away, for example, when we were knackered and he puts Trent and Ben Woodburn on, because Liverpool goosed, but he has Coutinho and Firmino on the bench ready to come on. Liverpool, we played twice since they play, and Brighton are one of the most intense teams in the league to play, picking 9 of the first outfield players, and the only one you don't pick is because he's injured. Salah would have played, no doubt.
Yeah.
And then but it comes on the back, Paul, against on Wednesday. We make a triple sub after 89 minutes. It's 4-0 and they've got no striker, and we don't want to think, you know what, get off here. Why Gravenberg, get them all off the pitch? Like, we don't need.
And now you're paying the bill.
And so it was one or the other. If you play them all on Wednesday, and because you want to make sure, guarantee we don't trust ourselves, fine. You can't then just make one change. It's impossible. You have Robert.
The only thing, just I hate that I have to play this fucking role on this podcast, but if you bring people on at half an hour, you mean you can't train them the next day, is the only other. They then become part of
do we train much anyway?
Yes,
yeah.
well, that's fine.
But you know what I'm saying is that you then, and not like we used them at the fucking on the Brazil.
That's my point. They didn't play him anyway. Yeah. So when I saw what he did on Wednesday, I thought, okay, that means there'll be 6 changes at the weekend. Robbo comes in. I don't know where Gomez is at, to be fair, so maybe that's a different one, but maybe Joe plays. Okay, well, Curtis is definitely playing. Rio's definitely starting this one. No, it's the same lads. The 2 lads who didn't play were injured. Alisson, we know, would have played, and Mo Salah would have played. So we think our manager thought it was a good idea to play Brighton away, who played last on the Saturday. We've since played Sunday and got beaten injury time and had to work really hard, and then legged it in our most intense performance of the season on Wednesday. That I just can't get my head around that. I've had a lot of sympathy for Arne Slot this year, and I don't think everything's been his fault. But that at the weekend, it's all at his door. That every single part at the weekend is at his door, that's something I think he has to. I think we all have to admit that is the key as well.
Do we have sympathy for losing Ekitike early in the game? In that regard?
Of course you do. He's injured. He got injured. It happens. Okay, Sam, one of our players injured, we're fucked. Okay, we can't win this game now.
No, but I mean, in terms of, again, that's your third best goal scorer.
I had sympathy up until the point that he then decided to go with Curtis instead of Rio. Yeah. And that's where my sympathy then went. So sorry, but it is.
I couldn't believe it.
I was like, I was devastated because I thought Liverpool started the game quite well and energetic in some way. And then Ekitike goes off and you go, for God's sake. But then I thought, well, at least we'll get to see Rio, and look, a lot of it's probably going to be dependent on Rio, but maybe he might just be able to deliver. And then I saw Curtis Jones, and everybody who was watching it turned around and went, what's he doing? Why is he doing this? If anything, we're now just more we're less likely to try and win this game of football. That is a must-win.
You'd be better bringing the defender on.
Put Rio in the front 2. Is that what we would have done?
But like you had Gakpo, you had Florian Wirtz still playing. So like, could we not have gone back to this 3 then?
That's what I'm asking. Yeah. So you change formation when
and Wirtz goes out on the right like that.
Rio can play that role. Why can't Rio play front?
Rio could have gone on the right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he was doing better on the left when
I saw Jones getting warmed up when Ekitike went down, I thought, that's strange. Like, what's that sub? And then he comes on and I was thinking, okay, what is this? And then if I thought, well, maybe we're going to do like the real. Now this means we're going to sit back and we're going to do the Man City away last year when we just say to you, get past this, lads. And we're going to. And I'd have half accepted that. But Liverpool tried to play on the front foot with Wirtz. And listen, at this moment in time, I don't know what's got. He looks off it again since post injury. He was really good before the injury. He looks miles off it. And Gakpo was out of form. Okay, so are we going to score a goal then? I don't know. It was just a very odd substitution. So I do have sympathy when you lose your player. I think back to when Jurgen, if you ask him all those years ago when Salah got injured in Kiev, I bet he regrets at that moment in time bringing Lallana on. He probably thinks I should have.
Probably regrets selling Coutinho.
But maybe I should have done one or the other. I think you either have to go defensive and bring Trey on and be really bold and go, we're sitting in and we're going to try and hit you on the break with a lack of pace. That's tough, but whatever. Curtis is kind of halfway out, isn't he? It's kind of, how could you get Gomez on? I don't know how fit he is, and put Frimpong up there and just go, listen, we're being solid with a fast lad up front. The decision to bring Curtis Jones, and I'm a big advocate, I think Curtis should be playing more, but not in that.
He should have started the game.
Not in that role. Like that's nonsense. That's banana. He's playing left wing. It's
for what it's worth for me. I don't disagree with anything that the two of them have said, but in the moment, I'd be lying if I told you that I thought another way around it. I understood the decision making. I think with Hines, I know that's fine. Like I'm just saying, I did understand it at the time, because I felt like, you've gone to a formation that is new. Fairly, obviously they played it against Galatasaray. You've gone for a wingless formation. I thought maybe that you don't want to change formation. You don't want to go to a 3 when you've planned for all of a day for it or whatever.
Halfway into that point.
Yeah, so I listen. It sounds bad on me more than anything, but honestly, in the moment, I was okay with it. Mm-hmm. As it turns out, these guys were totally right. You know what I mean? And I think with hindsight, I'm looking back at it and saying, well, yeah, absolutely, what they said makes sense. But in the moment, I'd be lying to tell you.
That's my point on this. Is, again, I know it's easy for us. We're doing this thing. We used to do a thing when we worked in the tavern where if like the bar hadn't been cleaned properly, if there was like 3 things that hadn't been done, you made a list. And if you made a list that had 3 things on, that list can have 10 things on. And all of them are the 7 other things on the list are things that you would always overlook. But if you're making a list, you might as well fucking list every single thing of it. And my thing on this is, if all our heads are done in, it's absolutely fine. But that decision at the time was what it was. The idea that it's easy to say, oh, it definitely would have worked Rio, and that definitely would have worked.
I don't think it would have worked, Paul.
Cool, man. It's not like he's got. How many goals has he scored?
No,
if people could help him out, then
No, I know, but we're asking for like a fantasy scenario where
Zobo and
Gamoa becomes a centre forward, or you're changing.
Listen, it's not ideal.
Curtis Jones was what it was. He's been the sub for Vert loads this season because he's the most sort of similar in that you can give the ball to him in small spaces and he'll hold on to it for you, and he can play. He's quite versatile to go along the front line. Again, I'm not sitting here and saying that was the fucking masterstroke of a decision, and it certainly wasn't borne out that way. But in terms of the things that went on with it, why I ask about the sympathy thing is that this is where we're at. My biggest issue with it was just that I feel like we tried to be a better team than we maybe are, because once Ekitike goes off, that should have been a batten down the hatches and just see if you can see that game of footy out and maybe nick a goal. And I don't hate the optimism of thinking you can be a bit more in that, but everything about it, what we had, the legs that we had, the lack of pace and the lack of goals meant that what we were trying to do was completely ill suited to the game situation.
I also think, Paul,
and then you maybe then with 10 minutes to go, if there's a goal in it or it's level, have a spin, change the formation and throw Gamoa on. But from the again, the team's got no fucking legs and no goals, and that's the fundamental of it, because you can engineer wins. Szoboszlai can score goals and Vert can score goals, but there's a reason they're midfielders and not strikers, because they don't do it every week and they're not 1 in 2. And and in the absence of that, you have to find another way to win.
And it's on a head coach to make these. That shit happens in footy games. Like it happens. It really does. And I just think the Jones sub would have made sense if it led to a change of tactics and or formation.
Yeah, but against it, Liverpool, I know they concede that fucking goal, and again, if Ibu Konate is better, they don't concede that first goal. That's a very simple, small individual moment that changes that. But the way Liverpool play for the first half an hour of that game, generally speaking, is absolutely fine. Yep. They're creating stuff. They're looking quite dangerous on the ball. They're causing Brighton's issues. They're picking up pockets of space. There's loads of fluidity and loads of creativity to it. So it is a little bit of revisionism to look back and go, it was utterly shite from the minute we made that Jones substitution.
I don't think it was all of it, but what I'm saying is we're not good enough to expect our defences to keep a clean sheet. We're not. So you've got to either help them out or go the other way and go ultra uber attack, one or the other. Doesn't mean I've watched Liverpool all season. we don't defend well, and whether that just be a simple person's error
We
or
don't attack well either. Or midfield well.
no,
All of the above.
we can say a good free kick from the edge of the box, but the idea that you know what, I'm going to play this way because I can bank on these lads behind me. Fucking
I know.
What are we doing?
But that goes back to it. Again, we were getting run through in the latter stages of that game. We go, wow, we're letting it in. It's like we've got Curtis Jones playing right back against Minter. Like Frimpong gave him a hell of a game, but he's clearly not got it in him. But that was why Frimpong was chosen to do that job, because his pace, it saved us a lot of more heartache in that. But then what are you left with? And then, even worse, the fucking PhD in dribbling Matoma comes on, and just fucking Curtis Jones just like, go ahead, mate, fucking Olay, because I've got no chance.
Gravenberg's a centre back at that point in it as well. It is
chaos.
Again, it is just a mess. We are a mess. And you could sit here with 100 different ideas on how this can be fixed. I'm not sure any of them. I would be totally, in terms of like changing him for him, or playing him more, or playing him less, or do we go to this system?
There's one change that would make the biggest difference.
Calvin Ramsey right back.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, the manager.
I think for me, I go back to it.
Yeah,
this isn't me. This isn't the whole like whatever. It's more a case of if everything's wrong, you can't. I go back. You can't change all the players. It ultimately it comes down to Arne. So, have we got faith in the fact that he's going to be able to sit down and come up with a game plan over the next 2 weeks to beat Manchester City? I can't hand on heart say I am. I hope he does. I've got no faith in it because I've seen nothing for most of the season now that makes me think, oh well, all of a sudden that's going to change. I can't get my head around it, and it's a real concern for us that the players. Listen, I'm going to list. They look unfit. They look unprepared. They
don't look like they've got a clue.
They don't respond well to adversity. They're not great at holding on to a lead. They make basic errors. They don't score enough chances. Like I've just described a Sunday League team who are half shit. That's
I think
this is Liverpool.
The way to look at it is, what do we do well?
At this
because
moment,
there's not a lot that we do well.
You can't even talk at work rate there either, because they're getting lagged.
It feels like, honestly, again, it feels like a miracle when we win football matches. Yep. And ultimately, the reason why is just someone just sticks the ball in the back of the net. Someone whose job it is to score a goal scores a fucking goal, and all of a sudden it works and it makes sense. And when those lads don't do that, everything else is still the same problem. They're not fit enough, and they're not defensive enough, and they're not mentally strong enough. But again, we're so fucking between bang average and fucking and then a bit of unluckiness within all that. I know it goes back to this thing of it. I would look at. I agree with the form side of things, and looking ahead. We'll do this in part 2 more probably. But it doesn't. I think everyone's right to look at that and go, you're mad if you expect it to be any more than it is. But it does come back to me for that of like, if we had another manager in charge of that game at the weekend, who's sticking the ball in the back of the net for us? It's still that's going to be the major overriding thing, because goals cover a multitude of sins, and that's the same problem that's going to be handed over to the.
I will go the other way, Paul. I will go very quickly the other way. I think you could have someone who makes you better organised, better set up, and then you try and win 1-0. Yeah. And actually, a 0-0 at Brighton when you're in a top 4 race is fine. Well, it's absolutely fine, by the way.
When Rafa's last season, I remember Aubrey of this parish saying we needed a manager like David Moyes instead of Rafa Benitez, because Rafa Benitez was too good a manager for the situation Liverpool were in. Liverpool needed a manager who was used to managing half crap teams, but which is utter fucking lunacy. But there is half of what we're saying here is that do Liverpool just need someone who can come in and just make us fucking dead resilient and hard to beat,
but put the players in better positions for them is just half the battle as well for me, because I've talked about it the last couple of weeks. Like we are funneling our chances to a centre forward, which is probably why we don't get loads and loads of them. I don't think we're asking Salah to get into the penalty area as often as he was last season or the season before. So if a fresh pair of eyes would look at it and go, right, okay, well, where are the goals in this side? And how are we going to get goals out of this side? Because I don't think it's quite, for me, it's not quite as simple as just make us hard to beat. I think just give the players what they need to perform, because I'm looking at it thinking, well, you know, Gravenberch sitting on the toes of the centre halves and having a big gap to the rest of the midfielders is making it more difficult for McAllister and Wirtz or Jones, whoever's in the middle. I think the fact that the right back's on an island because there's no right winger supporting them is a problem. I think the fact that, you know, maybe the left back doesn't get a pass off the left winger, if it was Gakpo as an example, is something we look at it and you go, what's going on? What are we trying to do here? Like, where are we putting them? Like, Szoboszlai's brilliant on the edge of the area, Wirtz is brilliant on the edge of the area. Let's try and get them on the edge of the area, you know what I mean?
Isn't that what we've tried to do this week?
Tried to do, but didn't.
Yeah.
For me, certainly at the weekend, you know what I mean? The Curtis Jones chance that you mentioned, that comes from Wirtz. Dead centre, not over to the left, not over to the fucking right, dead centre with a few players in front of him making runs. And so for me, that's what it's about. And a fresh pair of eyes will look at it and go, how am I going to get the best out of what I've got? And, you know, some of those answers might be exactly the same. Some of them might be slightly different. First of all, you do have to probably look at the defence and speak to them and be like, you know, Virgil, what's been going on? He's like, oh, fucking hell, mate, there's 4 left backs a game.
Kanate's fucking rubbish. Can you get me into the centre?
There's 4 right backs a game here, mate. Like, at this point, like, we need to solidify the back line for a start, you know, and you know, the left back situation, we are still chopping and changing, and as much as we like that isn't good for the centre halves, chopping and changing every single week. As much as I think Kerkers can do it and I think Robertson can do it, you do need solidity. You do need players to play with each other every single week and understand what they're going to do. You know, in the same way that maybe having a little kick about with the goalkeeper before a game would be helpful to understand what foot he'd like it on. You know, and these types of things, they're basic things. Like, that. You know, I don't think there's too much that I'm asking there.
I also think, like, just favourite, why are we so open? Ryan, just stay there, mate. Just stay in front of these two.
But he does, that's the problem. He's 2 in front of those two.
I mean,
it's miles adrift of the rest of the midfield.
And can we just be a bit more compact? Why is Ryan there sound and then McAllister is 10 yards that way and where's Florian Wirtz? He's over there and the space is everywhere, and it's a bit like we're playing a style of football that, like, it would work if you were a boss. It's like we're playing on like max difficulty settings, but we're novices at the game at this minute in time. We're making things really difficult for ourselves. So we're not only are the players, listen, they must be tired, I get it, and they must be lacking a bit of confidence, and we're all fed up with it, and I imagine they're all fed up with it too. I think there's ways where you can, you know, if you're getting beat 6-0 on FIFA every game, maybe just knock it down a level. And just go, listen, you're not quite ready to. Well, you're not quite ready to play.
I've got some bad news for you about how life works. You don't get to choose the difficulty setting.
I think you can make it. Sorry, how difficult you are. Yeah. So all right, listen, we're getting battered with this new, just raining in a little bit.
Brighton, we're going for a very good rating on this one, Brighton. Can you just?
Honest, to be fair to Honest, he's half been suggesting this impresses, hasn't he? How teams play against us.
Can you play like us? How I want everyone to play against?
Brighton did exactly. We've asked teams to come and go toe for toe for us and try and play footy with us, and we'll beat us. And no, we can't. It's just there. It's hard. It's really, really tough, isn't it?
Right. Listen, we're gonna have to stop. But we will take a break and we will pick this up after the break. We've got some super chats which we'll catch up on as well. And yeah, before we hit part 2, here's this. Hey everyone, if you're looking for some distraction from the football and you like a bit of time travel goodness in your life, then I have 2 books for you. One of them is by me. It is The Eternal Flame. Yes, the boy. It is a superhero story set in a World War II theme about a boy who swaps lives with a forgotten World War II super soldier, the eponymous Eternal Flame. And on the other hand, there's this, The Man Who Stole the World Cup, written by my dad, John Machin of Redmen TV fame. It is about a bunch of kids who travel back from 1980s Liverpool into the past, pulled into the conspiracy theory to steal the Jules Rimet World Cup trophy. This one is a bit more suitable for a slightly younger audience. This one is much more aimed towards teens and older. This one, if you want to read something as a bedtime story to your kids. This one, if you like things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Smallville and the OC, this one is for you. Both are available at machpublishing.com. Signed editions are available, and they're both available in physical editions in a physical bookstore that is Pritchard's Bookshop in Crosby in Liverpool. So plenty of ways to fill your boots, keep yourself entertained, aside, of course, from the mighty Reds. Hey, welcome back. Sorry, we've got a countdown that ended 3 seconds before the go. Doesn't matter. You don't care. We're here. Right, yeah, keep your thoughts coming in the comments. We had a couple of super chats in the first half. We had TDO Goo 7 sent a gift of the Redmen TV membership. Well done. Oh, what a nice thing to do. Matty Gorman says, any wonder this team looks goosed when they're being given a couple of days a week off training? Totally unacceptable. This fella is out of his mind. What's this?
There's been a few rumours. I think it was started maybe with Simon Brundish on Twitter a couple of weeks ago with a kind of cryptic tweet, I think, where he said you'd be surprised at how many days off these players are
Chris
having.
Williams tweeted something as well about he's heard that there's a lot of time. I don't know, it's not, but yeah, there's been a bit of a talk that maybe they don't train quite as hard as perhaps they need to. I mean, whatever's happened with the fitness team, they don't look fit. And listen, I have sympathy on that very quickly because they had a horrendous summer, and obviously that impacted the pre-season, and pre-season is so important. But you'd have expected by March that someone would have been able to fix that.
Look like
somewhere would have been able to fix that.
Yeah, it's funny, innit? Because over the years, I can tell you categorically, if a player you're really excited for misses pre-season, he never has the season that you're hoping from him. Never, ever, ever. You know, like, and I'm sure people can point to examples, but broadly speaking, I can think of it time and time again. Oh, this is going to be the one. This is going to be. Oh, well, never mind. Feels like they all didn't have one. You know, it feels like every single Liverpool player missed. But
there was I have huge sympathy with what happened.
But that's the point. You can't. It's not recoverable. It's never recoverable. We always go, oh well, you can fix during the season. You can't, because I've never seen a player who missed pre-season get back to a level and not have recurring injuries and be prime by the time you get to fucking April of the season. It never happens.
Yeah, I think sometimes if you're recovering from an injury, it's different. Like, no one was injured, was they? And again, maybe I'm being way too harsh.
McAllister.
Maybe I'm being way too harsh on it.
Yeah, correct.
The rest of them look absolutely just like goosed. So yeah. I am not. I mean, I have literally a sports science back in my old day. It was a long time ago. I don't really know the absolute ins and outs of what they're doing and what they're not doing now, but we look knackered, and it goes back, doesn't it? Before they are knackered because we don't rotate enough.
And exactly. That's it, isn't it, for me as well? Like that. I know you're left thinking, we're left having like these lads on pedestals who never play. Kiesa's been the number one for two seasons. Of like, oh, he's absolutely amazing. And honestly, we'll never know, because at this point now, he doesn't play enough football to have anything remotely like rhythm to be able to impact the football match.
Italy have just sent him home saying he's not fit.
Yeah, you know, and so there's obviously more to him than meets the eye with all that. He just looks like a house flip of a footballer, him, doesn't he? Like, they looked at him and went, we cannot lose with, 12 million or something we paid for him. We'll get at least that, probably 20 back. He'll be a sound player to have around the squad, etc., etc., etc. But whatever, is that we've now got a bunch of these lads who are kind of floating around the fringes, and you do just think, could we not have just put them in would Trainee only be a better footballer for us now if he just had another 150 odd minutes of football spread out throughout the season? Surely he absolutely would have been. And again, the Calvin Ramsey thing of just playing a right back at right back, because it's the forever knock-on impact of, okay, you've got Frimpong as your only right back now, sound. So then what do you do? Again, take Curtis Jones. Okay, well, who's Curtis? What happens when you put Curtis Jones at right back? Apart from the fact that he's not a right back, who's then spelling McAllister when his legs have absolutely gone as well?
I think if I remember from this thread from Simon Brundish, I think there's a lot of how we train our players has completely changed, obviously, from moving from Jürgen to Arne Slot and his coaching side. Now, I'm not butchering this, but this is as I understand it, but you can go back and check his tweets, Simon Brundish on Twitter. He talked about how, we got a lot of injuries under Jürgen Klopp, and it was to do with the fact that, they were stressed a lot during training, whereby the matches actually weren't as intense as the training, which, that meant that they were able to go 90 minutes, do everything, intensive sprints, huge amounts of them, cover distance, etc., because they were trained for more than that. Whereas Arne Slot, they never actually reached sort of maximum capacity until a match day. What that has meant, the knock-on impact, is we're getting less injuries throughout the season, but the players are entering into an unknown territory during matches where more injuries essentially get picked up. And I think that's probably what that super chat was about.
Yeah, check Cyberunish's Substack. Actually, the full article of that is over on there. It's definitely worth a read. It's a bit heavy, but it's worth a read in that regard.
He's a strength and conditioning coach as well, so he knows what he's talking about.
And also a Twitter contrarian, so he's always a good follow as well. And that's what we're kind of doing. Part of Slot and his team being sort of injury prevention specialists is ultimately they don't leg them Monday to Friday. The idea is
they
that
let
the
the
match
opposition do that at the weekend.
The match is meant to be the peak, but size argument is
40-year-old James Milner just legs them instead. Fucking Grandpa Milner just fucking run rings around them on a Saturday afternoon instead.
Well,
Pascal Gross and James Milner were doing fucking laps. Combined age of 75.
Who won the lactate test this summer? Because they've stopped talking about that.
Just 6 minutes.
We got legged by a combined age of 105. Milner, Gross and Welbeck just fucking running fucking rings around us with fucking couldn't move.
Tom 1971 says I can't see past that we're 6 points behind this United side that has been managed by a combination of Amorim and the bloke who failed at Middlesbrough. Yeah, that's another thing that
we're 3 points above Everton.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
I'll play them soon.
And we play them soon. At their ground.
6 points out.
Fucking shoot. Nah, we're crap.
6 points in Europa League shootout with the Ev.
I was trying on social media the weekend to try and sum it up, and I thought, you know what, A, I'm on all these on what that ask, but B, I just thought, we're crap. We are just crap. And I always try and think, analytically speaking, why did we lose that? Was it a key battle that someone didn't win? Was it a referee's mistake? And I just couldn't. I was like, we're crap. We're just crap. We can't score, we can't defend, we can't run. We don't create enough chances, we don't stop the other team creating chances, we're just fucking crap. And I was just like, okay, well, when you kind of accept it, it was kind of easy. I was trying to pick it up because you could go, Mintz had a really good game, or he was good. No, we're just.
If we had a crap kit, we were talking about this at the weekend, I could accept it more.
Yeah,
but we look fucking $1 million. We should be the league winners in this kit.
We're the celebrity fashion brand. That's what's happened. My thing on this, where I'm sort of sat with at the moment, it's about expectation, and I agree we're crap. So I'm trying my best not to let that make me as miserable as it should do, because we're just past the point. And I know there's just like that thing. And you might be right or wrong or anywhere in between of like the manager's the only thing left that you can change that might have you can point to as an outsider without any inside info on how things were working and how the players blah blah blah. That's the only thing we can change is to change the manager. So in a pseudo scientific way, then it makes perfect sense to be like, well, pull that lever because fucking whatever. But that's my frustration with it is that we're fifth and we're in the quarters of two competitions, and I know that I agree that the trend is that it's probably going to end in that could all. I mean, look at Liverpool's upcoming fixtures, by the way. So FA Cup quarter-finals when we come back, quarter one kick-off against Man City at City.
Lord help me.
PSG away in the midweek that follows.
I'm there for that as well.
Fulham at home, the game after that. Then the second leg against PSG, and then the Ev. Obviously, all of that.
Where are your banker wins there?
No, but there are none, because Liverpool don't have banker wins anymore this season. But yeah, that's where we're at, is that like that by the end of, I mean, look, won't even be by the end of it, but by effectively mid-April, we're either gearing up towards semi-finals and continuing to roll on, or it's all gone absolutely down the Swanee.
And it feels, unfortunately, the latter, and I get myself wrong. My thing on the manager, I want to see your point, and I understand it, is that I've got no faith it's going to get better next season now. There's a World Cup, so we're going to get no time on the training pitch. It's going to be if we don't get Champions League, and if we do, it's because Chelsea might be as shit, and that might be the saving grace of this season. But genuinely, don't rule out the teams who are trying to chase us both down, because if I'm Brentford or Everton, I have got big eyes on that fifth spot. I've just lost faith that it can be fixed in the summer as well. That's my biggest concern. The reason I'm saying I would make the change now is partly because I do think maybe you can just get that new manager bounce, and I know it's a fucking cliche as fuck, and some teams get it. Man United have got it, Tottenham haven't. That can absolutely go either way. It's more, the stakes are more serious for Tottenham because they can go down. Liverpool can't go. It's not going to be that bad. We might just end up in like the fucking Europa League or Conference League. It would be horrendous, but it's not. That doesn't relegate the club. So the new manager might come, but also you're giving somebody. I wouldn't go interim, by the way. I would try and hire a manager, give them the end of the season, and then the whole summer to be ready for next season. Because if they do decide, if they wait for Arne Slot, for example, if the idea is to change him, I don't know what it is. So they're going to see if he can beat PSG and see if he can beat City and see if he can get fifth. If it fails, now you're bringing a new guy in. You've got to do your whole search again, and he gets to somewhere where there's a World Cup. So he probably gets a week or two with the players. Now, that worked out well for Arne Slot last time because effectively it was a really good team that had just run out of legs towards the end of Jurgen's last year, pretty much. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. It was a team that we were genuinely had quadruple talk going for. This team hasn't got that. So that's why I'm thinking of it as well. If someone wants to argue the fact that they think, listen, it's just a bad year, I have got full trust in Arne Slot to get it right this summer, make the changes he needs to make, go again. I think I could half understand where they were coming from, but I'm not sure anybody is in that camp. Well, I'm not sure anyone's got that belief that's what's going to happen.
This is the problem with this season, is that it's in so many regards, like so many seasons that we've had in our time following Liverpool, where you won't know whether this was a worthy season or not until it ends, and that's really hard. Yep. And that's because we're crap in the league, and that's your bread and butter. That's normally your steer on how good your football team is. But when you're madly inconsistent in that, it robs you of the ability to believe that it can be better elsewhere. And so, again, whilst we're in there, again, once we change the expectations that we're not going to win the league, then the expectation became finishing the Champions League places and see if you can do something in the Cups, which we are. So, for me anyway, until that gets absolutely fucking bombed out, I'm reasonably fucking chill about it, and I not because I'm happy with us being not good, but I also mean we're at the international break now. It's also part on what Liverpool are doing. If they were going to sack him, they'd have done it the weekend. You know what I mean? And so once it's not done,
my worry is that you're just sleepwalking into a major issue. Like, because you could come back, you could play 2 games, you could be effectively out of the Champions League, you could be out of the FA Cup, and then all you've got is a race for fifth.
No, absolutely.
My point on this is more with no improvement over the last 2 months to show for your patience.
Yeah, no, exactly. But what I'm trying to say is the decision's not been taken, so it's a waste of fucking. You know what I mean? Like, we can do our heads in and make ourselves feel worse about it all by continuing to fucking go down this. Well, it's waste time when we missing window of opportunity. I don't necessarily. Like I said, if they'd made the decision, I'd be sat here going, yeah, probably fair enough. You know what I mean? If we come home from Brighton, like against Everton in the derby with Brendan Rodgers, by the time that game's like 2 hours fucking done, the manager's gone. Thierry Henry's grabbing Jamie Carragher's leg in Sky Sports Studios, and you're starting to think about what comes next, and you go, all right, yeah, fair enough. And that's the thing for me, because I actually don't, again, I'm not like super pro the manager. I don't think he's the fucking God's gift. I don't think he's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm not pleased with the style of play and blah blah blah, all the things that were going on. But I mean,
can I ask a question? Because I agree, I don't think they are going to sack Arne Slot, and I actually don't think they're going to sack him in the summer either. I think they're going to ride it out and let him have one more pop at it, a la Brendan. And I'm not convinced it's going to go well. I think it might go that way, but we'll wait and see. What do you think they're seeing, or what do you think they're looking at to think then maybe that why haven't they gone, you know what, we're crap, we're sick, we're in this race for 5th and 6th. Why do you think they haven't pushed the button?
I've got no idea what goes through the brains of billions.
It's hard to understand, isn't it? Yeah.
I really haven't. And so I have to try and me trying to fathom it out is more than anything else. And it's what I said last week when we were talking about this. And as long as the Champions League run carries on, I think the manager, given what he's handled and gone through this season and all the mitigating circumstances, whilst he's still in that competition, he's earned the right. We're not fluking our way through that. You know, we've earned our right to be in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and I think he deserves to see that out because he might yet be able to.
Do you think they think he can win the Champions League?
I don't know.
It's hard to know, isn't it?
No, and it goes back to it of like, you can get to the final and lose, and what's the difference? You know, it could be a kick of a ball away from it, and that would be seen as a failure. You know, you could lose on penalties and etc. etc. That's that. And maybe, look, it's FSG. So they might just be looking at it and going, what's the point of spending 20 million quid to sack the manager when we'll just ride that out to the end of the season? And again, it goes back to that point that they probably look at it and go, do they look at the issues that he's faced and go, no manager in the world's coming in and fixing that now? It's too far gone. So what's the point? That would be my guess at what I think FSG are thinking on.
What do you think, Chloe?
I reckon it could be at the fact that they've brought loads of people in to do this job, and this is the person who they decided to hire. And if he's not good enough, it doesn't just look bad on Arne Slot, it looks bad on the recruitment of getting Arne Slot in. And look, Arne Slot gave me a Premier League title, so technically, go on. Yeah. Like, you it's actually worked. You got us with a Premier League title, and now sacking him, you know, maybe he just wasn't the one for the long term. But I think, you know, we've brought people in particularly to do this kind of job, and they have specifically chosen Arne Slot, and therefore maybe, I don't know whether Arne Slot is fully getting the players or if it's a mixture of both or whatever, but I think it's maybe they're looking at it and going, actually it's probably a little bit on all of us and it falls on us as well, so maybe we stick with them, and then at the end of the season we can basically say, oh well, you know, if you'd have got us Champions League football, then we'd have carried on with you, but that is too much of a gap for this club, and not having that means that we've now got to go in a different direction. I think it might just be that they don't want it to look bad on the people who put him in place for the long time.
I think also, to answer my own question, I think they want to know 100% that he's the wrong fella, and maybe they haven't quite made their minds up. I'll be honest, I have, and I think some of us have.
Can I ask you a question though on this? What it's worth, like, because we've got to live in this world now. Arne Slot's not being sacked as Liverpool manager. Do you want to be proven wrong?
Yes, I mean, I want
to win the Champions League.
I want us to win the 2 cups, and I want us to finish 3rd. And I'd be fucking buzzing. I'd be wanting people to replay me this clip of me saying this all now and going, you're a fucking idiot. And I'd be like, yeah, sound. I'm having a great time celebrating these 2 cups on this trophy. Nothing would make me happier. Again, my issue is I've seen so many Liverpool managers, and I've seen the end of what comes. I don't think I've once been wrong when I felt like they should be sacked, or it feels like they're going to get sacked. If this feels very like, it feels like the end of Houllier, the end of Benitez, the end of Rodgers, the end of Kenny the second time. Hodgson was a mess, whatever. It does. The only one, it's because Jürgen's the one who didn't get sacked for a long time, and because he wasn't going to. This feels very familiar, and again,
it feels familiar. I think for what it's worth, I think it feels familiar in how it feels from the fan base.
Yes,
and like how, because that's where we've kind of reached with it. Yeah. But for me, it's still those other things that where it doesn't. You know, when a team just looks like they're absolutely fucking done. You can normally tell. Again, Stoke fucking end of the season with Brent. I know he gets the season that follows. Houlier's totally and utterly just fizzled out. You know, we really look like we're taking massive backsteps. Benitez had an entire season where it had just gone fucking completely. Well, Brendan Rodgers again, like it everything about it was that, whereas what do you think FSG are?
Well, I don't know, I was just going to say it might be that you're not there yet because we're still in those competitions. If we're out of those competitions, you might be sat there thinking, well, this feels like feels like the end of the road there.
I don't know, it would be, but again, it's not, because it's not. There's almost the point of that, of like they're still plugging away, and I've seen too many seasons where Liverpool were nowhere near good enough to win the league, but won as a cup at the end of it, and it was one of the best seasons I had supporting Liverpool. And I'm aware of the additional sort of pressure that comes with when you've had that high in season. What's Benitez? You know, he won the FA Cup the season after that, gets us to the European Cup final the season after that, and then actually, even though we don't win another trophy, do we? 08-09. We have Torres in 7-08, and we're actually we always felt like we were on the up from there. This is such a drop down because of that high. It's so, again, it's hard to believe, but I agree. I'm perfectly prepared to admit that I'm not fucking totally won over by him. But while we're in those competitions and it's possible, like I just feel I would feel uncomfortable taking those opportunities away from the manager that won us the league and had to deal with all the shit that I had to deal with in the summer. That doesn't feel morally comfortable with me.
I think Liverpool don't feel under pressure right now that Alonso's going to go off the table. I think they feel, if they want him, I think they feel that they can sit there for a little while longer, because there's no one immediately out there that's looking. Whereas when we moved for Jürgen felt like we had to move for Jürgen then and there, otherwise he'd be off the board. And I don't think that will change until the summer, and I think that's probably why they're erring on the side of caution, because you get to see whether the manager produces something special, and you also get to go, okay, well now...
The concern would be, Chris, wouldn't it, is that if the top 5 race goes wrong, you know, you're bringing in a new manager when Liverpool have just finished 6th, and you're not in the European Cup, and you know the other 5 teams above you. And
if he makes it through this international break, they're not sacking him before.
No, I don't think they're not going to sack him. They're not going to sack him. This is my point. So I'm just trying to figure out what they're seeing that maybe we're missing.
For what it's worth, by the way, if we lose to Man City, lose to Fulham, and get knocked out by PSG with Everton looming, I honestly would just bring Steven Gerrard in.
Can I ask you a question on that? Do you think we're going to beat Man City, beat PSG? Or you're happy to find out?
But I'm not. Don't make me sound like a fucking cunt. I'm like,
I'm not.
Honestly, I've got no idea.
Yeah.
But the point is that Liverpool haven't won a fucking raffle to fucking get there. They've actually been good enough in the cups to reach a quarter final. There's tons of teams, and you can go the draw. The fucking draw's the draw. You've got to get favourable draws to get.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to think.
I went to fucking San Siro and watched us do a job on Inter Milan.
Yeah.
So I've seen us do that. We did a similar job to Arsenal at the Emirates, although not quite with the same sort of outcome. With Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, even like the Villa games and the Brighton games earlier on in the season were all right. Galatasaray, the stuff in there, and it's why it does my fucking head in, and why I can't be like, it's all fucking shite, get rid. It's not all shite. It's just not. It's not very often good. But it's not outside. I'm not being fucking crazy to suggest
I get you.
that it's possible to go and beat Man City in a one-off game of football, and we might be able to get past PSG. I do think we need lots of things to go in our favour, and fucking hell, we're going to need Mo Salah and Ekitike fit and on the pitch. And if Alexander Isak could fucking ride in on the fucking, out of the sort of horizon, like Djibril Cissé in 2004, 2005, to give us a little bit of something. Listen, who the fuck knows? No, you might say I'm a dreamer, but I feel like the only one.
Mate, I am bang up for it. I hope it happens. I'm trying to get in their mind what they're trying to think. Yeah. I think we've all made our feelings. I'm just thinking because there's a majority of the fan base, I think, or a large portion. I think some of them are on this table, some elsewhere, who are wondering why they haven't done it. I'm just trying to get in their heads. Why? Maybe they're thinking the same. Maybe thinking, actually, if you look at Arne Slot in Europe, the record's been good. And maybe that's what it is. I was just trying to get round their minds because I think, for what it's worth, I do think
I think it's a dangerous game if you hinge on your fucking entire future on winning the Champions League. By the way,
do you guys think? I think we'll finish 5th, and maybe that's enough. I don't know, but I do think they'll finish 5th because I think Chelsea are even worse. Just about. I was just trying to get in their psyche of what they were thinking. But I don't know. Do you guys think we're going to finish in the 5th top 5? Again, is it just too hard to say?
I think we're really lucky that other teams are crap as well.
Yeah, I agree.
More than anything else.
But it's not luck, it's just the nature of the fucking... That's what it is. That's what it's like at this part of the season, in this part of the team.
Before this weekend, I'd have said, now that Aston Villa have actually picked up another 3 points, quite frankly, now I don't have a lot of hope that Liverpool are going to get top 5. I'm just so done with watching us play football. And there's very little joy you're taking away from football these days. And for me, Aston Villa was my hope of getting top 5. Chelsea are crap, but Chelsea have got João Pedro, and he is a 20-goal threat to season. Chelsea are crap, but also I believe that they'll actually show up in games of football.
Feels like you've lost a will a bit, doesn't it?
I know. It was Villa. Villa was the one I was going there playing week in, week out, 2 games a week, with your Europa League. And I was thinking, they don't have the know-how to do this. Where now that they've got another 3 points on the board, whilst Liverpool, like when Liverpool was doing crap, but you saw Villa just dropping like a bomb. Like, I was like, they'll be the ones that we're going to catch here. Where now, look, 3 points is only 3 points, but my God, it feels like a major 3 points when Liverpool struggle to get anything out of games of football.
Those ones are mad though, aren't they? Because every one of those teams all around will have a little spell where they have a couple of, a handful of decent results. Villa weren't going to lose every game between now and the end of the season. They will, and they played West Ham and they won. And West Ham are down the relegation zone for a reason. That is what it is. For me, and it's playing United, Chelsea, and Villa, and then actually Brentford. It has the potential to all be in Liverpool's hands in the back end of the season, and it's whether we can perceive that to be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm sensing the mood, bad thing. But if Liverpool want to finish in the top 5, I think they'll look at that and go, there'll be full boss games of football then. Man United will probably be fighting for something in terms of those positions. Chelsea will be going for it. Chelsea home's a good thing for us, by the way, in that one, because that's the one. If we can stay roughly where we are, which I know is an ask, but the Villa gates. Yeah.
What do I say?
Gotta get there.
It might be better than playing Wolves, Burnley, Leeds.
Genuinely, we're fucking awful against the relegation fodder. At least we're playing a bunch of teams. We have got Crystal Palace in there, by the way, so everyone maybe book a holiday.
We're going to play teams who try and play footy against us. It's really tough, but my question, I really hope, and I know Arne got a bit of stick in, he's gone back to the Netherlands or whatever. I think that's how he wants to see his family or whatever, it's fine. I really hope there's a plan being worked on for when we're back, because I think it would be very, very disappointing if we just come back and it's just more of the same, because that just clearly hasn't worked. Now, and you've got 2 weeks to get your head around the fact that you might not have Salah and you might not have Alisson.
Well, look at Klopp's first season. I wonder whether that formation we saw against Galatasaray is his 4-3-3 Bobby Firmino false 9 thing, because that's the only formation I've seen us play that makes sense why you've bought Isak and Ekatike that we've played this season. And so if that's the case, cool, but actually Klopp knew he couldn't fucking play that every week and didn't have the players to do it, so he'd wind it in and go back to 4-2-3-1. So what is our holding pattern formation that just gets us across the line slightly more on a week-to-week basis? And then, by all means, listen, that's how you think the best way home to beat PSG is playing like that, then fucking brilliant. Gear up towards that and beat them, absolutely gear up towards that, but there's got to be something else, you're right, in the interim. It's
mad, because if Liverpool would have beaten Brighton or put in a performance that I could go, that might be the first time this season I've seen them do that, back-to-back games where they've played, so quickly and came off the European competition, then I probably would have sat there and gone, yeah, I'd do back us. But I think it's just the fact that, like, the other teams around of us has been crap, but Liverpool have no point capitalised on that. And now Liverpool have once again crap, and people are taking advantage of us, and Everton are only 3 points behind us. Look, whatever, but I think now you're also looking behind you, the teams who I didn't have a worry in the world for, the likes of Everton, Brentford, all of them, a couple of weeks ago, but now I'm also looking over my shoulder going, like, they're also here. They'll think they've got a great chance of getting into the top 5 as well as anybody else. So it's not just the teams ahead of you that you're trying to catch. It's the teams below you who are just waiting to pick you off.
I mean, there was 2 weeks ago maybe, I was thinking Man United were there for the taking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they've pulled so far away now. They're none of our business anymore. Aston Villa are plummeting like we are. Chelsea is struggling like we are. But it's the performances it comes down to. Yeah. It's not like we're picking up 2 wins and 1 loss. We're putting in 2 shit performances and one good one against Galatasaray in a competition that actually didn't matter for what we need for the league and stuff. So, for me, it just feels like we're sleepwalking into problems, big problems.
Take away the early part of the season when we were top of the league. I thought we're 6 out of 6 or something. I think since then we're like the 12th or 13th team in the league, and that's what we're playing like, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why, I said I think we might finish 5th, because I think Chelsea are equally as bad.
But that's discounting the teams who were miles away from us.
Exactly, I hadn't considered the others.
No, you look at our home form, right? And I know I think it's only 3 losses this season. But last season we lost 1 at home. The season before we lost 1 at home. The season before that we didn't lose any at home. You go back 4 years, and that's how many we've lost this season essentially.
Yeah.
The away form, the fact that we're winning less than 50% of the games is crazy. Like, to get us to the position where Newcastle were last season in 5th, in terms of just wins rather than points to make it easy, we need 6 wins to hit their 20 wins out of the 7 games less. So, I think we are lucky, to be honest. The teams have dropped off with us, and maybe that is other teams getting better, which negates that luck side of things. But, like, it's just not good enough for where we are and the players that we've got, that we're going out there and each week the performances are letting us down as well.
I would just
I
like
could
this.
understand it. Results you can flip a coin, sorry, but the performances aren't good.
Do you think
That's the underlying problem?
It would be nicer to have something to rely on other than hope. I love hope. Hope's great. Hope is what hope gets you out of bed, and hope is the reason we hope Liverpool win the league, and the Champions League.
Yeah.
We hope Liverpool win the FA Cup, but like. I would want something more than hope. I would go, I think this team can go and do this, or I think you can hang your hat on this.
That's why,
and I've lost that in my head.
That's why I said if we'd have won that game or put a decent performance in that against that Brighton game, I'd have come into this going, actually, yeah, you know what? I reckon not
or if you beat Tottenham, you go, oh, well, it doesn't matter because, look, we had a good win in midweek. You win some, you lose some. You put all your energy into that. We've had this where we've been spoiled under Klopp, where we were just good twice a week, and most teams do struggle post
Hope's
Europe.
just what we give to the opposition.
And
3 points. And the midfield.
3 headers inside the 18-yard box.
Yeah, we give loads to the opposition.
Pensioners running rings around us.
We make a great Father Christmas, us.
It's
Presents all over the place.
it is just like it's just really bad.
But yeah, I go back to that thing with the slot thing. It's like they've got the opportunity to make the decision. They continue to not make the decision, and then that opens up that kind of wares of, do you think they're competent and all that kind of stuff? But again, you can fucking do your head in with all of that as well. Of like, he's the manager now, and my worry is of like, it's a bit of this where you go, it's fine being angry and fucking annoyed and fucking done in with it all, because that's all how we all feel. But, and I was, I think we're all probably of that mindset that if Liverpool do have a great season, not like any of us are going to go, well, I'm not celebrating that because that fucking dickhead won. But the worst thing is there are people out there who are like that. And it feels like a bit of a fucking waste of energy. We've got 2 weeks off. Everyone go get an ice cream and fucking have a break and, try our best to keep on.
To be fair, after Brighton, the fact that the sun was out, major difference. Really enjoyed that.
Oh, I was in the hot tub by 1:30.
I thought I was big into it.
It's like this gang of idiot time in my weekend.
Yeah. And now that I'll stop speaking about it, I reckon my week will go a lot better.
Yeah. There's a smile club. I've been really worried.
Genuinely, I am utterly not asked. That is where I am at the point with Liverpool, is that sack the manager if you want, keep the manager if you want. I just don't care. You do you. But what I will say is I am going PSG away, so please win that game of football.
Just win some more games of football, Liverpool. Score some goals and it'll be fine. Right, cool. Thank you so much. If you haven't dropped a like on the YouTube video, then do that. If you want more from us, talking about other things, we've got a very aggressive posture going on there, Chris. We are going to be doing the biased football
it's the same as
podcast. Steve's got a nice open friendly gesture. You're like fucking down. Anyway, biased football podcast over on the Redmen Plus app. Come and join us over there for that. We're going to be looking back on the Champions League and some of the big instances from the weekend as well. Nice one.